Right. Welcome back to the third part of this series, guys. And we are going to finally build our power that we have been trying to build up towards. And for this power, it's basically we are going to create an anchor, an anchor point in any place of the game, and the character places the anchor, and when his life drops to below 50% or 50%, uh, you get an ability where you can transfer back to where you dropped the anchor, and when you do press the button you are transported back there. You don't you don't get your life back, but you do get an escape route. This is similar to teleportation, but this one will take you precisely to the location where you placed your anchor. So, in terms of gameplay, if you are doing it in a game where you're placing the anchor in a very safe place or in a very secretive place, it could be a fun play where if you were damaged a lot, you could go back and come back again to fight the same enemies. This is also very similar to how the totem power works in Apex Legends. So it is kind of similar to that, but this is going to be like a dumbed down version of that because we are going to do like basic powers. We are not doing like the finished products. So this is going to be just the basic concept of it, and anyone can build off of it. You can add animations, you can add various objects, you can even create a totem like in Apex Legends. So let's get started with building this power. Now, we are in the top-down character blueprint. So for starters, we are going to create input actions. As always, because that is going to be always the starting point, because we are going to do an action in the game. So let's go into the actions folder, and we are going to create our input action. So let's go into input action, name it IA, let's say anchor, because we are going to first place our anchor and then we can get the ability to transfer back to that anchor. So first, let's do the anchor part. And in the input action anchor, you can go in, leave it at that. We can just add a trigger and say pressed. Save, go back to IMC default and IMC as an input mapping context. And we are going to map our anchor. And for this time, I'm going to choose the letter R as in recall. Uh, or if I don't have anything else, I could go with A, because it's anchor. But A is also the movement like movement buttons. So later on, if you are using this power in a game where you're using WASD as your movement criteria, then there will be an issue with that. So I'm just going to keep it at R for now. And when R is pressed, our anchor will be placed in the game. And so I'm going to just add the trigger here too, which is going to be pressed. Yep. And our input action is already mapped inside the game and ready to use. So to start off with, let's also go back into our blueprints folder, and we need to create an anchor. For our tutorial purposes, I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to add a sphere and color it into an obvious color. So I'm just going to add a blueprint class, and I'm going to add an actor because it's going to be spawned in the world. So actor is the correct class to be used. And I'm going to call it BP anchor. And I'm going to go inside And here I'm going to just add a sphere. And I'm going to call it anchor globe, just for naming purposes, I guess. I'm also going to, let's say, color it, maybe make it a simple color, or like search for an obvious color, I guess. Let's call it, okay, I can see a obvious color like green color or something. Oh yeah, there, where did it go? Let's choose that, metallic car paint. It's so obvious. If you have this, it's spawned in the world and you can see it from a mile away. So that's good. Now that we have created this is all ready. I'm just going to resize the anchor to be like smaller, and like always I'm going to go into the side view and make sure it's above the ground, just to be sure, and hit compile, and our anchor point is ready. And that's all you're gonna do it inside here, unless you have a fancy anchor where you're going to build logic inside of this anchor point. For now, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to place the anchor and use that as the anchor point for the transportation. So you can close it, and you can go back to your top-down character blueprint, and let's start building a way where we can bring the anchor into the world when we press the button R. So we are going to bring in enhanced input action anchor, and when it is triggered, we are going to spawn actor from class, and I'm going to select the class as BP anchor. And from there, I'm going to get the actor transform. Actor as in us, the hero of the game. We are going to get the actor transform to get the location of us and then spawn the anchor where we are standing. So it'll be like right there. And you can offset it. It is up to you. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to keep it simple and easy to recognize. After you've done that, we are also going to create a reference for this spawning of our BP anchor by creating a variable called recall anchor ref, and we are going to set it to our object, which is going to be BP anchor, and it's going to be an object reference, and we are going to attach it to this, so it sets a reference ready for us to use later on in our script. Now that we have set our recall anchor reference, we can start building the other part of this tutorial, where we are going to press the button to transfer back to the anchor point. With this, we are spawning our anchor, and with what we are going to build, we are actually going to be able to transfer back to the anchor point. And for that, let's go back into the inputs folder and actions folder, and we are going to create another input action, and we are going to call it IA recall. Since we are recalling the person, I'm going to say recall, and I'm just going to go inside, and I'm going to just leave it at that and press trigger, hit save, go back into IMC default, and we are going to add another mapping, and we are going to select IA recall, and we are going to use, let's say, Y, because I've used so many letters. I'm running out of letters now, and I'm gonna just use the Y letter. I'm gonna select the trigger, pressed, and save. So now our input action for our recall is ready and ready to be used inside of our top-down character. So now let's bring in enhanced input action, recall, and let's start building our recall logic. And to start off with, we are going to make sure that our recall happens only when our character is less than or equal to 50% of its current health, of their current health. So we are going to create a branch, and we are also going to set the condition, and the condition is going to be less than or equal, and our two variables will be, the first is current health, and the number two will be our recall threshold. Let's say if you want your character to get this ability to be activated if they cross 40% of their life, like below 40% of their life, then you can set to threshold to 40 and so on. So I'm just going to create a variable, a float variable, and I'm going to call it recall threshold. And it's going to be a float value, and I'm going to hit compile, and I'm going to set the recall threshold as 50. So when our life drops down to 50, our character recall threshold will be activated, and if it's less than or equal to our current health, the branch condition is met, and we are going to apply is valid and our input object, which is going to be our anchor, the recall anchor. So I'm going to bring in the recall anchor, and I'm going to connect that there. So if our recall anchor is present, let's say you place the anchor somewhere and it is ready for you to use, and your health drops below 50, and this checks if it's valid or not, and if it's valid, then you will be transferred back to your anchor point when you press the button Y. So after is valid, we are going to connect set actor location. Set actor location. And the new location will be get actor location. And the target is going to be our anchor point. So you connect the anchor, recall anchor ref that we have created here to the actor location, and the return value to the new location. So now to explain what is happening, when our health drops below 50 or equal to 50, and if the anchor globe is present in the game world, the logic is activated, and the logic checks if it's valid or not and transfers you back to the anchor point when it is valid, and then we are going to destroy the globe. We are also going to destroy the globe by connecting the target as the globe, or else you will get destroyed. So make sure you connect the recall anchor ref to the destroy actor. And now we are going to set, we are again going to set the recall anchor ref, but this time we are just going to leave it empty, and we are not going to connect anything to that, because after we transferred back to the recall point or the anchor point, we don't want the anchor point to stay, so we are destroying it and then leaving it at that. and it is ready for you the next time you drop below 50, and so on. So this is the basic logic behind the power. So let's hit compile once again and let's test it out if it works or not. I'm going to go into the game. I'm going to press R. See, our anchor globe is ready for our transfer. I'm going to drop below 50% of my health, and I press Y. We get transferred back to our anchor and the anchor disappears. Wonderful. But I'm going to go one more step ahead. Since we are doing this, why not have a visual cue where some text is prompting you that your recall power is ready, so you can press this button to transfer back? How can we achieve that? We can achieve that by adding a widget. Just like how we added a widget for our health bar, we are going to add a text widget for our warning message that your recall power is active now because you're below 50% of your health. Press this button to transfer back to your anchor point. That is basically the gist of it. So let's start building our actual widget blueprint.